everyone. This is Neek and Res, and today we will be talking about burnout.
Yeah, so essentially, when we're saying burnout, we're talking about that like mental exhaustion. It's a prolonged type of stress. It usually occurs when we're feeling overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and we just feel like we're not meeting the constant demands that are placed upon us. So me and Nick were reading this article, and it talked about how the average professional has experienced burnout by the time they are 32 years old, which is young.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Compared to, I feel like, like you used to hear about midlife crisis, and like that's supposed to be like 45, but it's like I feel like our generation is having it way earlier because we're experiencing
Yeah.
burnout way earlier.
I was about to ask, like, when was midlife crisis supposed to be? Because I'm 33 now, and I'm positive that I have already experienced burnout. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's just we get it so much earlier, and I think it's because
Mm-hmm.
like even though like our parents and our grandparents they stayed with jobs for 40 years and stuff like that, and we hop around, we would our whole resume look like 8 months here, a year here, 2 months here. That's just our generation. That's definitely the generation coming up after us. But even though we do that and like we don't stick to jobs we don't like, the problem is in jobs is money, and I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. Because we feel pressure to do all these things. I think also social media is a part of it. As much as
I was
we
about
want
to
to
say that.
say it doesn't affect us, yeah, like as much as you want to say it doesn't affect us, seeing people like stunt and do like the Birkin challenge, or you see those people who be like, I am 23 years old and I have my own multi-millionaire business by the time I was 19. Like, even if we're like, yo, girl, that's good for you, I feel like for a lot of us, there's a part of us like, what the fuck am I doing?
What am I doing wrong? Or
Mm-hmm.
having a homeowner at 19, or working at, or your job is to travel the world. It's just like,
Right.
what am I? Yeah. I think that's why they weren't as burned out
Mm-hmm.
early back then. They didn't have anybody else to compare their life to.
No.
I mean, their coworkers was probably on the same level as them, and
Mm-hmm.
they just lived their life with their family, and it's just like, yeah, that is. I feel that is why it is like a big thing for us.
I do.
As for our parents, they retired from their job from 50 years.
Yeah.
No, it's not gonna happen.
It's not.
Not
It's
at all.
but I definitely think, yeah, that's a part of it. And I think that, and on top of the fact that we don't make money considering the amount of debt that we have to take on. Like,
Exactly.
our parents, they can buy a home by the time they were in their 30s, but also they had a consistent job. Also, a four-bedroom wasn't $400,000, you know?
No.
So,
And then,
mhm.
yeah, back then, you didn't even have to like go to college to make big money.
No, no.
Like, you did not. My parents didn't. My mom went back to school after she stopped working at a factory, but the thing is, she was making 30 and like the same amount of money as a nurse would make. So it's just like you didn't have to go to school back then to reach the American dream, quote unquote.
Yeah,
So
you
I
did.
think that's what it is too.
Yeah. And now, in order to reach it, you have to go to school for the most part. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have to take on debt for the most part when you do
Yeah.
that. So it's like we're already starting off so way behind, because it's like our parents might have like 20,000 to like $3,000 in debt right now, because
Mm-hmm.
they, for the most part, their homes are mostly paid off. They,
Mm-hmm.
didn't their student loans, was like $5 a semester or whatever. Like it was payable,
Yeah.
and so like yeah,
I didn't have
they're
student loans, period. Like
yeah,
that too. Like, and they can still get a house. They
yeah.
can still do everything they wanted to.
And they're older now, so they pay off
Yeah.
whatever little debt they did have. Versus our generation, like I was reading an article the other day that was like by the time that most Americans are 30 years old, they have at least $100,000 in debt.
Yep. I
And
agree. I
it's
mean,
like
I believe it.
yeah, between school or not, they have accumulated. So some you might have paid off, but they're saying your lifetime it probably altogether would have came to 100,000. And yeah, I know some people whose student loans are like $180,000, and
Mm-hmm.
they didn't even finish.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's a push for us to go to college, college is great. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like such a push, but then everybody doesn't finish and then you're just stuck with all that debt.
Yeah. I
Cause
mean,
this is what you have to do, you know.
yeah. I think I used to be one of those people who thought like, no, you need to go to college. You have to prove how smart you are, blah, blah, blah. And again, I think a lot of that was because of my upbringing.
Same.
Yeah. And but like now that I'm so much older, like, you know, my daughter has a savings account and we put money in there for her. And like our plan is like when she gets 18, because she getting out of my house. I'm telling you that now. I don't know where she going, but she getting out of my house. I had a whole little conversation with her 4-year-old self today, and I was just like, when your daddy coming? Like, what are we doing? Please go in your room until he get here. But yeah, like me and her father had discussed like what we plan to do is like when she turned 18, we're like, look, if you want to start a business, we're gonna give you this money. You can start a business. If you want to go to school, we're gonna give you this money. We're gonna take this money to pay for your school. And of course, with the whole start the business thing, we like, okay, what's your plan? Like, we gonna act like a bank.
Gotta lay out that plan,
yeah.
right?
Give us your presentation. Tell how do we know you know how to do this? But that's not how I used to think years ago. Like years ago, I'm like, no, when they go to school and learn how to do business, then we'll. And now I'm just like, no, because you can teach yourself so much on the internet.
You can. It's just like I feel like they make you do college because I feel like you could do not any job, but just about any job with the right training. You don't have to have all those years of school.
Like, so you know, I think I've told you this before. There's a certain school down here that, in regards to like social work, when people hear this school's name, when you hear somebody like, "Oh yeah, I got my master's at blah blah blah," like there's a thing in the social work field down here where they're like, because it's almost like, yeah, they be passing anybody. You don't know what y'all study, but every time you go time we run into one of y'all know how to do y'all. And I think I told you which school that was before, but that's like a whole thing. And I remember because I have 2 colleagues that graduated from there, and half the time we don't even know if they still work there because don't nobody see them. Don't nobody know where they are. We have a theory that one of them is a DoorDash driver, and he just comes, clocks in, and just do deliveries all day and come and clock out because nobody knows where he is ever. He's from that school. But
well, I don't remember this conversation. We'll talk later.
Yeah, that is a thing. But like we were talking about that. Me and my coworkers, we still have like every Friday we do a social where we all do a Zoom just to check in with each other. Because we were a very close group. We're used to always being in each other's offices. My boss has a huge office. There's sometimes you'll go to talk to her about something. There's 8 of us in there, just chilling, having a whole session. But like we were talking on our Zoom, and like one of the things we were talking about was like, honestly, yes, it's a hard, tough job because we hired 3 new people, and we were talking about how to train them during Corona. And we were talking about this, and like a coworker brought up, she was like, yeah, but you know what? These parts, like all you gotta do is train them. Like it really don't take a master's to do this particular part of our job. So we can let them do that during the period. And I thought about it, and I'm like, damn, y'all really are, you know, you're right. Down there's, you know, I have to get into mental health stuff. I have to get into competency. I have to get into disorders. I have to know medication, stuff like that. Yes, that I have to study for. But thinking about it, like there's certain jobs that I had a master's degree and I had a freaking junior license to have. And you literally could have taught somebody this in a month of training.
Yes.
Like why?
I see that, like, yeah. I see that all the time. So I'm like, have these jobs you can train somebody to do. Like sometimes I feel like trade jobs, like you couldn't train me in 40 days to be a mechanic.
Yeah.
But like other jobs, like certain jobs, I think you can just get trained for. Like I could probably do an HR job. I could probably do a finance job. I could do those jobs. I just need to be trained. You know, I didn't have to go to school for it. I don't think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no,
I don't know.
I 100% agree. Yeah. Like you could try to teach me to do hair. I can't. I've been trying to bring.
Yeah, that would be a hard one for me. So
yeah, like I've been trying to part a straight part for 30 years, and my baby's still walking around with crooked lines. So there's just certain things that I'm like, you need to have a skill. That needs to be a skill.
And I encourage that too. Like if
Oh
Journey
yeah,
said she wants to go to a trade, like she might want to go get her maybe a LPN to be an RN. Like you can even that's a trade.
yeah.
Like or you can get a or if she want to do hair or if she want to do a trade, just something that will give her some money to live on, like you live on her own.
Yeah.
But I'm not even downplaying it. Like I'm not gonna force her to go to college, and if that's not really what she wants to do, I want her to have a plan. But
Yeah, that's the big thing.
yeah,
Like, have a plan. I'm okay if you have an
mhm,
alternative plan, but have some type of plan. Because also,
mhm,
how many of us know those people that like went to school and then acquired all this debt and dropped out, whether it was partying out or couldn't keep up, or between the job and trying to go to school, whatever. But like when you talk to them, they're like, "Yeah, well, my parents told me," and it's because they really have no desire, and there's like you're being pushed into that.
yeah,
When I first
yeah,
started school, I think you know this, I actually started out with my major being in like finance or something, or accounting, I think. And it was because I remember telling my parents, like, yeah, I want to be in mental health and I think I want to be a social worker. And I remember my dad telling me, looking me dead in my eyes, was like, you cannot afford yourself on a social worker salary. He was like, you need to get into finance. And so when I applied, I went to finance. I hate math. Like, I have
yeah,
never kept up with a budget a day in my life. Like,
mhm,
why would I go to school for being an accountant? I I I still have to call my dad about stocks and all that stuff. Like, it just refuses to make sense in my mind. I know
yeah,
the basics of, keeping up with yourself financially, but like in regards to watching stock, knowing about marketing, all that type of stuff, like it's just not me. And I remember hating my first semester in school.
Did you change after the first one?
I did change out the first one. I think I went to psychology, and then
Mhm.
I went to social work. Like, I remember being in psychology and be like, this is cool and all, but like from what I done research, I can't do nothing when I graduate with a bachelor's. Like, I have to get a master's in order to do anything with this
Mhm.
degree.
Mhm.
And I remember my counselor being like, oh, why don't you try social work? He was like, you're going to learn about the same things. He's like, you're just not going to get into theories as much. He was just like, and then if you get your master's, you can go on and do the therapy route. But if you just want to work, like, you can work as soon as you graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And
See, my counselor there, I guess because I took so many African American studies classes, he was like, you should get your minor in African American studies. I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? Work at a museum? Like, I didn't. What can I do? Work at a museum? Like, but I always go back, like, man, I should have just got that. Maybe I would have found some type of fun job. I don't
that's
know.
that's how I feel, because that's the same thing. Like, I took so many criminal justice classes that they were like, if
Mm-hmm.
you just stay for one more semester, you can also I could get a double degree. And I was like,
Same.
yeah. And one of my
Same.
friends, same thing, because we used to take some of the classes together, and she actually did. She stayed longer, and then when she graduated, she had two bachelors. One was in psychology, or no, sociology, and one was in criminal justice.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I still ended up in the field that's criminal justice related and social work related, I still think I could have done so much more if I just stayed that semester and got
Yeah, you would have had more flexibility.
yeah.
Like, like now I'm like burned out. Maybe you're burned out from social work. You could switch it up. I
Girl.
mean, I don't really know what I could have had switched up with African American studies. Maybe I could be an African American
You
studies
should.
professor.
Mm-hmm. You already know what I'm gonna say, right?
What?
You should have just went for nursing. Like, first of all, that's just
Oh, okay. I'm about to say, what are we about? What are we about to say? Do I want the people to know what you're about to say?
No, for those of
Yes,
you
I
who
should have.
don't know, Neek needs to be a nurse, and she was supposed to be a nurse for the longest. Even when we were in
Yes.
school for social work,
Yes.
like, you wanted to be a nurse, and I was like, girl, just switch your majors. But I get it. When you invest so much time, and they're like, okay, but if you switch majors, that's 2.5 more years.
Yes, and I'm broke.
Right?
I'm broke. I can't live this life no more.
And especially when we're younger, like, we have such short-term thinking that is like, yeah, no, I have enough student loans to cover me for one more semester, so that's what we gonna do.
Exactly.
But it's funny. It's like, I really think our generation, we got tricked. We got tricked into so much stuff that we bought into, And now we're seeing the fallout from
that. I agree. You really are.
because we're having also a social change. Like, we're having a change where now society values individuality. Society values you looking for yourself, doing soul searching, improving on your mental health, and so forth. And the cost of that is, when you do that stuff, you look back and realize you're in a whole bunch of bullshit. When you really search your soul and you try to emotionally mature and do all this stuff, there's a lot of like, why was I in that relationship? Why was I in this job? I hate this job. What am I doing? You know?
And then you want to switch it up, and then it's like, yeah.
And then it costs so much to switch it up.
Way too much.
You try to switch it up in your 30s, and you just be like, or late 20s, and you're like, bruh.
Is this really life?
Yeah. The switch to this career means I have to take an entry job, which means I have to take a $30,000 cut, which means like you. And then we convince ourselves to stay. Like, well, I guess I'm just not gonna switch. You know?
Yes.
But also, there's also burnout in the romantic life. There's burnout in your family life. What I think about, especially when I think about family life, is kind of those people, the black sheep of the family, or those people who just kind of show up for Thanksgiving. Y'all don't know where they live. Don't nobody have their newest phone number. And they stay away. Like, they'll come, they love y'all and so forth, but they remove themselves from a lot of the family, dynamics and BS. And I'm
because they're
and I do that with that doesn't happen with me with family. I'm always very aware of what's going on with my family. I'm always very, very aware. I might not be in it. I don't allow myself to get into a lot of stuff, but I'm always very aware. There's always somebody who's going to tell me. My mom's always going to call me and let me know. But in regards to relationships, I know, or the dating process, even if it was a relationship, I know that's the big thing for me. Like, I detach. Like, I get to a point where, and it's not even like a point where it's like, oh, I let so much BS happen. No, I have a very low tolerance for BS. So there's definitely, I've been in situations where, like, it just got to a point for whatever reason where I no longer care. So when you're like, why ain't you hit me up? It's like,
why?
To do what?
Right. Why am I hitting you up? Yeah.
Yeah, and then not even in a mad or angry way, like, oh, F him. It's like, no, you got me to the point. I don't even care. Like, I am so detached that you don't even cross my mind. Like, you popped up on my phone, and I was like, they do exist. They are a whole person. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you just like kind of take yourself out of it. It's for me, a lot of times it almost feels like an outer body experience. Like, yeah, like I know I'm
and then they're confused. Like, wait, but it's like, when I'm done with this situation, I'm done. I can talk to you like a friend and be okay because you brought me to like, that's the burnout of it, I think.
Yeah. See, and you're better at that because I don't believe in being friends with people I exes. Or
not like that, like not like, oh, let's be besties, but I'm like, I can talk to you and not have any romantic feelings there anymore.
Yeah, I don't do that either, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. But yeah, like and also I'm a very out of sight, out of mind type person. Especially when I'm in burnout. Like, if I promise you, and I'm not gonna really see you unless you put in so much effort, because I delete. Like, I will. We're no longer Facebook friends. We're no longer Instagram friends. Because there's no point. Like, there's no reason you need to see what I'm doing. And also, I think it's better for your healing process if you're not seeing what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I have deleted exes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I think it's not even out of anger or being mad. It's just like, especially when I'm in that detachment phase, it's just more out of like, I don't care enough to put effort into this. I don't care enough to keep you as a friend. I don't care enough to do anything to protect your feelings anymore. I am so stressing over it that, again, I just feel like a zombie. Like, I don't feel emotions towards this anymore.
I get it. Now, I'm the same.
I also think like there's a such thing as a being single burnout. I think it is a thing. I feel like I definitely know people who have been single for a long time and it's no longer fun. It's no longer, it's now like a stressful thing. It's now like a thing that causes depression. It's a thing that causes anxiety for them. It's something that causes mental exhaustion for them. And unfortunately, it's one of those things like you don't really have as much control as you would like over. You can't control if you meet a good person that you really like, that also really likes you, that you're also attracted to, that's also attracted to you. Like, you can put yourself out there as much as possible, and you might not end up in a relationship for like 8 years.
Yeah. And I get it. Because going from being engaged and being with somebody to going to pushing myself back out there, I'm like, wait, how do people do this? This is not fun. And this is not, it's exhausting. It's exhausting to rebuild with people or try to build something with somebody. And you just don't know when it's going to happen. Like, when is this master feeling going to, yeah.
When I'm going to be done interviewing people.
Yeah. And it's like, I have a bad habit of recycling, but I'm just like, it's for me, it's just like, but I don't know how to do this new stuff. Like, when I met people, it was easier, it was free, it was like, so it was easy for me to call somebody back up. But I don't really know how to get back out there. And then the times that I did, it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I felt like, like, I don't want to do that no more.
Yeah.
So it's just like, but where am I at now? I don't know. So that is a thing. Yeah. Like, that is a serious thing.
Yeah. I think when after I had ended my engagement, I had fun for a couple years. Like, I was happy. Like, I was so happy. I was out here having a hot girl summer before hot girl and I was having it in the winter and spring too. But what happened is I did meet somebody and I had a connection with this person that I had never had with someone before. And y'all know I walked away from that. Like, that's our slogan. I walked away. But
I walked away. My name is Ed, and I walked away.
After I walked away, like, I went through this period where I was like, oh crap, I forgot that you can have these feelings where you want to build with a person where it's not like, hey, you can stay or go, or I can stay or go. It's not a touch and go type thing where you're like, I miss your body next to mine when I sleep. I had this thing happen at work today and I want to call you and tell you about it. I saw this meme and nobody else is going to laugh but you. I experienced that for the first time in years. It had been years since I experienced that. And then that's when I walked away from that, that's when I started getting the single exhaustion, because I was like, oh crap, I forgot. Like, there are some really good things to being in love. There are some, and before that, I was having fun. And then once I got that feeling again, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. When it's good, it's amazing. And so while being single, after that, it reminded me like, yeah. How many times you gonna do this and that? You know, how many times you can go on a date with somebody and interview them for what seems like 3 months and then be like, this is good, and then repeat. And for me, that's when single burnout happened, is when I kind of realized like, oh yeah, there is so much love in being in a good relationship. There's so much fun in having your one person. That's your person. And it's really nice being someone else's person, and that being a reciprocal thing. So after that experience, when I was single, it was hard for me, and I went through that period where it caused me a lot of stress and it caused me a lot of depression and anxiety, because it changed the way I felt about relationships and so forth. It changed the way I felt about a lot of relationships. So yeah, it's definitely a thing to get single burnout. And you can get it multiple ways. So we did find an article. It's an article on thisiscalmer.com if you guys want to look it up. It's called The 5 Stages of Burnout. So according to this article, like the title says, they believe there are 5 stages of burnout. All right, Nick, you want to go through the first stage?
Okay. So the first stage is honeymoon stage. Is when You undertake a new task and you start to experience like a high of like job satisfaction, community energy, creativity. Um, Especially like when you start a new job. I had this feeling before. When you start a new job or something new or a new venture. So it's like the honeymoon stage.
Okay, yeah. So this is like when you like, okay, you have burnout in that job, and you think you solved the problem by leaving that job and getting a new job, and like, so now you're
Mm-hmm.
happy again. Like, oh yeah, that's why I was feeling like this, and you're like in that happy spot.
But that's just a short lived
It is. It is.
feeling.
Because so many times it's so much deeper than what the surface problem is.
Mm-hmm.
Like you be thinking like, oh no, it's because I don't like this job and I want to change careers because I'm not happy. And then you dig deeper. You go to your psychologist who is a Freudian and they break it down for you. And they're like, no, it's because you have a belief that you don't deserve better things, so you stay with things that are harmful to you, that crushes your soul, and it's a repeated cycle for you. And now you're just at a point where you recognize it and realize it in an unconscious way, and that is what is causing your burnout. And I think that's why, again, that honeymoon phase starts, because we actually don't deal with the deeper problem. Like, yes, we're burnt out, we don't like this job, but a lot of times it's so much beyond that. When you get to that burnout phase, it's a whole bunch of other unconscious things that finally push something to your consciousness. And you might not get all the stuff that comes out until you do some like shadow work type stuff, really digging in, and trying to search and find yourself, whatever. But yeah, I think that's why you have that honeymoon phase, because a lot of times we don't realize what the deeper problem is. So we think, oh, a new man will fix it, a new job will fix it. Sometimes,
or like, will it be like getting away from your family will fix it?
That does fix things though. I think with family, honestly, what comes to mind with family is like,
with family burnout.
I think a lot of times with family, to me, is like when I see people who are like, maybe if we have another kid.
Okay, yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
I think
fits
we're
our.
yeah, because we, you know, our kids are, you know, they're older and blah blah blah. But I feel like we were so happy when she was a baby. Maybe if I have another kid, it'll rekindle this. Or also, I think like in relationships, it's like when they're like, okay, maybe we'll be open. And again, I'm not against open relationships, but I think there are some people that are pushed into it by trying to keep someone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, that's not healthy, because I think that's how you get in those situations where you know, one of them kills the other, because one person was never really into it like that, and now they're like, I don't want to share this person, and it's stressing me. So I think
they're
that's
trying to please,
yeah. But like, there's initially this new start that creates this like, oh, okay, see, this is the only problem, and it temporarily decreases your happiness. So the second stage is the onset of stress. And that's kind of when you start that new job, you start that new career, you with that new man, you know, you done had the new baby, whatever, and you find that you're slowly going back to that depression. You're slowly going back to that anxiety. You're slowly going back to that feeling. And again, with the first phase, it's short-lived. So this is, you did that new thing to try to get out the burnout, and then you start feeling the stress again. And even after you started something new, a new job, whatever. And you know, the way they explain it is like, you start to be unable to focus. So yes, you got this new job, but now you cannot focus on the job for anything.
Yeah.
Now really irritable. Now this new job gets on your nerves low key.
Have anxiety about it.
Yeah. You now, it messed up your sleep schedule.
Yeah.
So that is the second part, and I think that's definitely true, because there are definitely, in job situations, I have moved on to other jobs, and I'm like, oh, but I think it would be better if I get paid more. I think it would be better if I get this new job. And then I had that 6 months, that 8 months, that year and a half, and then I slowly am like, okay, now I feel stressed again. Now I hate what I do.
The same exact feelings, yeah. Yeah.
And it just slowly creeps back in.
Yeah.
So number 3 is chronic stress, and this is like it's marked by a change in your stress levels. Um, it's going from like being able to be like motivated until now you're frequently stressed. It is how you live now. This is now your baseline of being this amount of stress, of not having this type of motivation. And it's almost your baseline at this point. And then I think it's the same symptoms that we talked about before, that anxiety, that lack of sleep, that change, that irritability, all of that. But it's at a more intense level. And
Where you're avoiding things,
yeah. And also when it starts feeling like you're norm. Because I know there's definitely been jobs I've been in where me not being happy and struggling to wake up to take myself into work, like me sitting in bed for a good 20 minutes before I give it up because I have to convince myself to go in. And then there was a period where that was just life. Like I forgot there's people that like their jobs.
Yeah. I never thought that would be me, but I have done that before. I'm like, I guess this is life because you gotta work. You gotta get your money. So it's just like it's just what I have to do right now. I don't know. I get you.
Yeah. 4 is when you enter the actual burnout. This is what they call the actual burnout stage. And this is where symptoms are now at a critical level. So it's not even just like, this is now my normal. Now you cannot continue as normal. Like it's not possible for you to go back to your normal stage. It's difficult for you to cope.
Yeah.
And I think this is a stage where like you need to seek intervention, because this is like, to me, this is chronic depression. This is, it's one of the things they talk about is it's developing an escapist mentality where you now just try to avoid your responsibility altogether, avoid whatever that thing is altogether. And it might not be, okay, you're avoiding your relationship altogether, but you're avoiding certain conversations altogether. You are detaching as a way to not even have to deal with this. They also talk about how this is now you're obsessed with whatever the problem is, or the job or the person, and like it's just now your whole outlook is pessimistic. Like it's there's no silver lining for you anymore in regards.
Yeah.
And I've definitely, one of the big things I do a lot when I get overly stressed is I isolate. It's like I have a low social battery, so being with people, it takes a lot of energy from me. I can do it. I'm good at it sometimes, but I have to recharge. Like I'm not one of those people that can like every day be at a party and like big groups of crowds every day, and I'm like, yeah, this is fun. Like y'all got me, and you've traveled with me before on vacation. You got 2-3 days, and I'm like, yay. And then the 4th day, I'm just not talking a lot. I just really want to
yeah. I have noticed.
But that's me throughout. But this is having that stage prolonged. Like it's not even like, okay, like before, it was every 4 days, I'm cool, and then I have that. And that was more of the previous stage we're talking about. But now we're talking about, nope, now this is your everyday. And this is when you're at the critical level. Because this is the level like when a lot of people get like at their breaking point. When you get to that chronic depression, when you get to that, now I have no silver linings about this, like that's, for some people, that's their breaking point.
Yeah. Mental fatigue. Yeah.
And so the last one I have is called habitual burnout. And this is basically like having things in your life that are at that level where you're constantly stressed about it, obsessing with it. It causes anxiety, depression with you. It's so embedded in your life that it's such a part of your life that it's going to cause you to have some type of serious emotional problem, experience some type of extreme stress type situation. It is chronic. Again, it's going back to that chronic depression and repeated cycle of chronic depression or chronic mental fatigue, where it's now just a part of your life that I feel happy for a couple months. I feel, then I start feeling sad. Then the sadness gets worse. Now it's affecting me physically. And now I'm just repeating that because I keep starting something new and it happens again.
It goes over and over. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, how do we deal with burnout? I think this is more of a personal question. I don't think it's going to be a one size fit all. But I think the first thing, especially when we're talking about like a relationship or a job, before we get into all the fillers of, now, meditate, blah, blah, blah. First ask yourself, is this something you even really want?
Like, if this is a relationship you want, is this the job that you want? Yeah.
Because some things, yes, it's just because of a particular problem or, something way, way deeper that has nothing to do with the job or the person. Kind of when I was talking about the unconscious stuff. And that's fine. But also, is this something you even want? And I've had this happen in a relationship where I got to a point where I recognized that the relationship wasn't working and we were having issues because of some issues that I had that I never dealt with.
Yeah.
There were some things where I had to recognize, like, oh, this is a fear of abandonment. Oh, this is you being afraid, so you try to control things so you feel safer. You feel emotionally safer when you feel like you have more control of the situation. It was taking time to really dig deep and go, okay, so I recognize this is just not you. This is not just, oh, we're not meant to be. This is because there are some things I seriously need to deal with that's preventing me from being able to be healthy in this relationship. But at the same time, even when I thought through that, I also went to a point, but also I recognized that this is not what I want. So yes, there's deeper problems. And I think one of the stages they talked about was walking away and start new. But I do think there are valid reasons for certain times to walk away. Yeah, but you just have to start anew, but start anew with knowing what the actual problem is
instead of running. Yeah, figure it out, because you could like try to like, let me hurry up and find another job, but like let's figure out if this whole career or this whole thing is really something you want to do, instead of, because you're never going to find that fulfillment.
Yeah,
honestly,
you can be like, oh, I'm a chef and I don't like working at this restaurant, so I'm gonna go to this one. And I don't like working at this one. And at the end of the day, it might have been no, because you really wanted to be a scientist. And when you told your 8th grade science teacher, they laughed at you, and you after that was like, oh, I'm not smart enough to be a scientist. And then you done buried that. And you're like, well,
that's true. Yeah.
So I guess I'll be a cook. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I feel like when you really look deep into it, you're like, the reasons you thought you did things are not really why you did things.
That is hard to get to that understanding. Yeah.
That takes a lot of work, a lot of doing something new. Because I know there are certain people, not certain people, but I know I have talked to clients before about trying to make changes in their life and them not wanting to repeat certain cycles. And then I'm like, okay, well, I wanted you to read some books on this. I want you to listen to audio, whatever works for you. Watch a video on YouTube about this. And they're like, man, I don't want to do that. And it's like, you have to learn. You do not change by saying like, yo, I don't want to do this. And then you just use the way you know how to do it.
Keep going, yeah, because it's not working.
Yeah, and it's like I do believe not everybody. You don't need to listen to everybody's message. You don't need to listen to a ton of messages, but I do believe you in whatever medium that works for you. Podcasts, books, video, movies, whatever medium that works for you. We're at an age now. Whatever the problem is, you can find it on one of those platforms.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that you have to seek out new information. and learn new information. And I feel like I definitely worked with clients before who are like, nah, I don't want to do all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, so then I guess I'll see you next month. I don't know what to tell you because you have to. So for me, this is a lot of reading of books for me. I love to read. I do like podcasts. I probably shouldn't say that on my podcast with a suspicious voice. No, I do like podcasts, but a lot of mental health podcasts are boring to me. There's a lot of like monotone voices, and because your father did not give you a birthday card at your 5th birthday, and it's like I can't listen to that. I really, really can't. And so like I can't listen to a podcast, but like I love reading, and for me that was reading not so much. I guess they're technically self-help books, but really reading books on understanding yourself. So earlier this week, I posted quotes from a book called, oh gosh, what is that book called? I think it's called Self-Love. And in that book, like it has a lot of like really interesting passages on like how a lot of our issues come from not loving ourselves enough. And how do you learn to love yourself enough? And how do you learn to go into those deeper parts? So for me, that's a big part of it for me, like learning new information. I like to learn it through books. I like to learn it through studying. I'm a study type person. What about you?
For me, I'm starting to do like I don't read books really, but I want to like get into like I see books that like I'm seeing books that like I want to read because I feel that it would help me. But I can journal. That helps me. Mindful meditation helps me when I'm really into it or take the time to do it. Like when I used to do one in the morning every morning, and it did set the tone for my mornings. At one time I was doing one every night, and it helped me fall asleep, but sometimes it helped me stay asleep, but it definitely made me fall asleep. So mindful meditation is something that I actually figured out that works for me. I just have to find the time to continue to do it. Also journaling and prompt journaling that makes me like really think of my actions or really think of things, and writing it down to get it out of my head, that helps for me. Those are the only two things I have found help for me. I'm sure if I read books, they will help, but it's just finding the time to make the time to read. Yeah. Like I don't mind reading. I should read, but I just don't ever feel like I have time to.
Yeah, no, I definitely think. And also, again, like there's different mediums to get the same exact information.
Yeah, even like maybe listening to a reading will help. Audiobook.
And the book I was talking about, you guys, was Show Up for Yourself. It's a really easy, digestible book. If you really want to get deep into it, you're like, no, I'm gonna only read one book on this and be done. That is not the book I would recommend. You know, it has a lot of fluff, so you have to read through. It's kind of like when you find a recipe online and you're like, oh yes, how do I make chicken parmesan? And the author starts off, when I was a little girl in Papa's farmhouse on the East Coast. You're like, please just give me the recipe. That's right. How that book is. Like it has some good gems in there, but she starts each chapter with a whole bunch of fluff that you're like, okay, tell me how to stop setting his stuff on fire. That's all I needed. That's all I needed from this.
I just need to get there. Yes,
I did not need to know about Papa. But it is a good book. But if you want to start out with something like, nope, I want something that's going to get to the core of it, that is not it. I have a couple books. I don't have them out right now. I'll eventually post them on our page. But mindfulness is something that helps and doesn't help. Not mindfulness. Mindfulness does help, but I'll get back to that. Meditation is something that helps but doesn't help for me. I don't know why. And I feel like, and I told this to my therapist, and she was just like, I don't think you're doing it right. But meditation stresses me when it's the guided ones. And it's because of the guided ones that I feel I need to do. So sometimes there's guided ones that's like, okay, where you're thinking about a particular problem. Okay. And it's like, okay, let's talk about depression. And it requires you to think on things that are hard and harmful.
Mm-hmm.
And while the process afterwards, I feel better. And I'm like, yes, I get to let that out, that feeling out. Because for a lot of us, letting things out is how you let things go. Actually processing those feelings. But during, it's not a great feeling. So sometimes when it comes to those, it takes me a couple days to convince myself to do it. Because I started meditating again. There's an app called the Calm app. And also a lot of insurances actually are giving this app away, the full version away free. So check to see if your insurance, go to your insurance page, type in Calm app, or you can call them and be like, hey, do y'all have a subscription to this? If you're a Kaiser person, Kaiser definitely has it, and they will pay for your full subscription. So part of your insurance, just FYI. And the Calm app.
But isn't Calm app mindful meditation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I have that app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of them. They have books that they put in soothing music with a soothing voice that you can listen to before you go to sleep. Mm-hmm. They have animal noises, rainforest noises. They have just great music for silent meditation. And they also have guided meditations.
I'll take that back. I have Insight Timer.
Okay. So tell me about that one. I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, like Insight Timer it has free meditation, guided meditation, and then they have like groups that you can join where like for monthly, like that's how I did the morning meditations. They have a new person each morning that you can listen to start your day, and then they have group meditations at night where you can listen to it to get sleep. And they have like 30-day meditation sections.
Wow.
Seems like every month. And this is free, like totally free. But it's just mindful meditation, and then it's like regular meditation. You can choose what you want to listen to about.
Nice.
And it's guided meditation, regular meditation. Yeah, and it's majority of it is free. If you want to join a membership, you can. But I still have not joined a membership, and I listen to them all the time when I feel inclined to or I'm stressed.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think guys should like look into Insight Timer as well. I used to have Calm, but I know you have to have a membership, and I didn't know about the insurance thing, so I probably check that out too.
Yeah. And I think Calm lets you have some of them for free. I think it's like the books ones you can get for free. Because I had it before I realized it. One of my coworkers told me, like, oh, Kaiser paid for that. And I was like,
yeah. I'm about to look for my insurance.
Yeah, I just called them up. I call up their line people so much. I know they get annoyed because I will call them up and be like, hey, when y'all gonna have some more therapy appointments because they ain't not online? And they're like, okay, well, we don't have any. Okay, I'm gonna call y'all tomorrow. I use as much as they costed me. I use that insurance. For y'all single people who don't know, who's paying like $70 a month for their insurance, add a freaking kid. Add a kid or add a spouse. Because that stuff goes all the way up to $200. Like, when it was just me.
And then mine, I still got to pay copay for my therapy.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I've never had one. No. But you know what? So I was still under my father's insurance when I was pregnant because Obama had extended it to kids could stay under until they were 26, and I was just 26. Like I was just giving birth before I ran out on that limit. And we didn't have, our hospital copay was $100, and I was in the hospital for 5 days.
That's great.
And so I don't know what insurance my dad has, but whatever that was.
I think Jasmine's. I think my sister's was like pretty low too, like 100, 300. Like
yeah.
And that's good because when you have kids, people, it's especially if you're not under no good insurance.
And by the way, let us just fill you in on a little secret. If you have medical bills that you just literally cannot afford, if you call that hospital, call their admin, tell them that you need to speak with their social worker. talk to the social worker, say, hey, is there any program that can help me? Because I have this huge bill. It is causing stress. I am unable to pay this. Most of these hospitals have all types of programs that will eliminate between 100 to 50% of your bills. And of course, they don't advertise it. Most people don't know what social workers do, so they don't know to reach out to the social worker. So that's just an FYI. You got a big bill from the hospital, call them and be like, okay, well, I need to speak to one of y'all social workers. They'll get you over there.
And everybody isn't married, but since I wasn't married, I didn't have to pay anything here in Ohio.
Wait,
I didn't pay anything to have Journey. I didn't pay anything to have Journey. Anything.
Because you were single?
Single and in the income.
Oh. Yeah, no. They were charging us.
I made under 50. I didn't make like a lot, but I didn't make a little either. Yeah. I couldn't get assistance from Ohio, but I was able to get full coverage on my pregnancy and any visits.
See, no, they were every visit I was giving over. Well, her daddy was giving.
First, I was because I was on my work insurance, but then I was like, remember, I was crying like I don't know what to do, and you told me like try PIP and try this and try that and try that. So I had two insurance. So I got Ohio's government insurance and I had regular insurance, so I didn't pay anything the whole time. After I had to pay, like, because I was paying like $600 a visit first. So,
$600?
Yeah, like one of my visits for all of my blood work, that bill was $600, and that's when I figured out like I can't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so. I was on my.
But if I was married, I wouldn't have got that. I wouldn't have been able to do it though.
Yeah, no, I was on my dad's insurance, and I didn't tell him I was on his insurance. Like, it was one of those things like he forgot about it, so I didn't say nothing. So I was like, oh, okay. Until he got the bill, and he was just like, "You still on my insurance?" I was like, "Yeah, I forgot to tell you that." But it was only $100.
The same with my sister. Yeah, my sister was. I think hers was like $300, but that's still cheap because it's thousands of dollars to deliver a kid.
And then especially if you have to stay after. Yeah.
And I had to stay too. Yeah. I had to stay like 4 or 5 days. Yeah.
No, same here. Same here. They try to rush most people out. Like,
yeah, my friend, she had her baby. She was out the next day.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was talking to my mom. She was like, "They spoil y'all because all my babies, they sent me home day of." I was like, "Okay, well, I don't know."
How you gonna say that? Nah, bro. Like, nah.
First of all, it's a lie. I was born at 11 p.m. at night. It's a lie.
Exactly. They ain't sitting here. Right.
You was at the hospital earlier that day. You didn't go home to the next day.
But exactly.
I know y'all don't care.
We don't care. Yes.
We get back on subject. There is somebody listening to this on their way to work. Like, y'all know we don't have kids. Can y'all stop?
Right. But then there's somebody else taking it because they're pregnant right
now. Yeah, so definitely the meditation. Also mindfulness. I feel like I've talked about this on one of our earlier episodes, like episode 1 or 2. And mindfulness it's basically the act of focusing on your breathing and being intensely aware of all your senses during that moment. So the example I gave is one of my mindfulness activities that I like to do is when I'm feeling extremely stressed, like I'm about to clock out and shit hits the fan at 5:58, and now I gotta stay to handle this bullshit that needs to be resolved by 8 a.m. the next morning. Like, when I'm having those moments, I stop, I sit, I plant my feet firmly on the floor, flatly on the floor, and I start breathing. And so when you breathe in, you're supposed to breathe in until you push your belly all the way out because it's full with air. And then you breathe out, and then you release all that air from your tummy and you let it out your mouth. And you do that for a while. And this is actually scientifically fact that it helps I believe it's a nervous system. Like, it does something to our nervous system. Like calms
it down, maybe.
Yeah. And y'all, I ain't been in school in like 5 years. Just work with me. I don't remember all the terms. But you do that.
I'm about to say, do you want to do one for us right now?
Yeah, I can do one for us right now. I'm gonna do a quick one
at the end. Yeah.
All right. So first, feet flatly on the floor. Hands flat on something. Don't be fiddling with stuff. All right. We're gonna take a deep breath in. Hold it. Let it out. Deep breath in. Hold it. Let it out. Deep breath in. Hold it. Let it out. Now, while you are sitting there, what we're going to do is use all of our senses. And the purpose of this is to ground you. And what the word grounding basically means, keep you in the moment. Let you be aware. A lot of times our mind is processing 8 things at once. While we are sitting on this floor and our feet are grounded, and after we do our breathing, and you can keep doing your breathing as I explain this, in and out. When you go through all your senses, it makes you aware of what's happening right now in that moment. And that is a part of mindfulness. That is a part of centering your mind, is being focused on the here and now. So we're going to start. It's called the 5 countdown. And what we're going to start is, we're going to start with the number 5. And we're going to count 5 things that we can see. So we're going to use, for me right now, I see work notes on sticky notes posted on my wall. I see a picture of an outline of the Girlfriends, the show. It's right above my desk. I see my iPad that it has the Alchemy app flowing, and I can see Meek's contact information. I see my candle with the flame flickering and going on around me. And I see my water bottle, which needs to be refilled. And then you move on to 4. And you go 4. Okay, what can I hear? Right now, I hear my voice talking. I also hear the shuffling of whatever Meek is doing. I hear the TV in my daughter's room. And I hear the cars going past my home. 3. What can you feel? I feel the floor beneath my feet. I feel the back of the chair against my back. I feel the table underneath my hands. 2, what can you smell? I can smell the candle, which I think is cranberry Thanksgiving for whatever reason. I can also smell bleach because I just wiped down my whole office area. 1, what can you taste? I taste, sometimes all you can taste is your saliva. And that's one thing. I taste the saliva in my mouth. Now, I went through it fast, but through each one, you're supposed to do it slower and really think about it. So when I'm saying I see my candle, I would say, more detail. Like I see my candle, the flame is jumping around. It's fully melted down. I see that it burnt the top of the candle base. Like you get into more details, and you go for it that way. And what that process do, again, it just brings you to the now, because 1, you're just naming everything that happens now. And it's supposed to center you and get you back to that state of calmness, of living in the now, not stressing in the future, not stressing in the past.
About past. Yeah.
Now you can,
it regrounds you. Isn't it like a regrounding tool? Yeah.
And you can mix up the senses whatever way you want. You can say taste, and you can start at 5. I do mine that way because it's always easier for me to do 5 things I can see. Usually I can see at least 5 things. Usually I can hear at least 4 things. Usually, it's when you get to that taste and smell that it gets harder. So I try to leave the 5.
So it's the 5 senses, right?
So I try to leave those bottom and mix them up whatever way. I find that one helps me, especially at work. It doesn't help me with relationships. I don't even take the time. I feel like it would be awkward.
I'm gonna say it's like gonna be hard to do that in a relationship or in the moment. Like I'm arguing, you know what?
And be like, you know what? I need to ground myself. You sit here.
What do I see? I see you on that bullshit.
What do I hear? Yo fucking lies. Oh gosh, no! Somebody needs to try that and report back. Someone can try that and just report back so we can have.
Right. We need an example of the relationship one.
Oh gosh, yes. So I personally think it would go hilariously if you try to do it like in a relationship, unless you do it away from them. Like maybe I'll text that.
Yeah. You put your phone to the side and start to.
But no, for real, somebody do that in front of somebody because I want to hear the story of how that. I would do it, but I'm not talking to nobody, so I can't help y'all.
Yeah, me either.
But I think in the work one, that one works especially well. And even we talked about work, but also there's a feeling of there's a burnout feeling like you're not enough. And that you're not doing anything. Like it can just be like a burnout from life. And I think in those situations, it's also helpful to bring your attention to the now. Because I think when a lot of times you're stressing about things like, especially like a lifestyle type burnout, it's mostly stressed about your future. Am I going to be a millionaire before I hit 30? Okay, now I'm 30. Before I hit 35. Okay, now I'm 35. Before, no.
So you just don't like your present state. So it's just like, well, would I ever like where I'm at, you know?
Yeah. Very few times, even if like I'm in an argument and the argument is happening now, a lot of times I know with myself it is about future stuff. Because it's like, no, let me set the precedent now. What you're not going to do a month from now, 2 years from now. A lot of times when I'm arguing, that's how I argue. And I don't really argue, I believe. But the few times someone has gotten me to argue, I know that's how I argue. It's very a past person. I'm really not a person that would be like, because you promised me 3 months ago and you didn't and you're not doing it now. Like, I don't really get into that past stuff. But I do get into a lot of, so what you not going to do? And they're like, I ain't to do it yet. Yeah, but this is the start.
Yeah.
And we going to cut this off now. So I feel like, doing that by yourself can be good in relationships as well. I don't know what to do with family. That's your area, family.
So I don't know how to cure the burnout of family, though. I don't even know how to work on it.
That's our advice, guys. With family, you just burn out.
You can choose. I mean, but you chose to relocate, and that helped you.
It helped so much.
But for me, it's just like, but mine is just in a moment. So mine is taking away or setting boundaries. I guess to burn out with family, you can set boundaries. There you go. Boundaries is what you have to set, and stick to them. Because your family, like true families, is gonna always like be okay with you stepping back. You know what I mean? But toxic families, not so much. But my family isn't really toxic, so they will understand. Like their feelings might be hurt, but they'll come back. Like we'll bounce back.
One, setting boundaries, because I feel like that's a big one with families.
Yeah, and I'm learning that, especially living closer. Like I wasn't like I'm living closer to family now. At one point, I was living kind of close to my parents, but it still wasn't close enough for them to just stop by all the time. But now I'm close to everyone, so now I'm having to set boundaries.
Being so close to my parents, house where they live. At this point in my life, I think in my 40s I'll be cool with it because I feel like I ain't gonna be watching out. But have my parents. Yeah.
I'm still in that middle ground right now, and it's just like you popping up when I got my fling on me. Like it's just not gonna
here,
work.
okay? I don't want to have to hide him.
Right, like you don't know that it's for a reason. Journey, I mean, my baby is gone. Like it's no reason for him to have to stay in the basement till you leave. Like,
Right. And my parents would do that. My parents would definitely pop in. My parents would pop up.
just pop
Matter of fact,
up.
my
Just
mom
pop up.
was recently like, why don't, I move there and we can get a house together? And I was just, in my head, I was like, no. So no. And she was like, you know what? And you can have one side of the house and I have one side. She was like, and then we pay it off and then it's become your house and we'll build up your inequity and blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, in my head, like, no, ma'am, you don't know what your daughter out here wilding, okay? Like, I don't want to have to explain that. I don't want to.
It sounds good on paper, but when she keeps popping up, it's just like, no.
I know my mama is gonna come to my side of the house and be like, so chicken nuggets again. Well, the child won't eat nothing else, Mom. I made us meatloaf. She ain't eating the meatloaf. Right. I need her to eat something.
Or who is this, Johnny? I thought it was Bob. Like it's just like, girl, like go
out this weekend, something kind of short perfume. Where you going? Is this the same person?
Exactly.
Like,
you gonna spend the night tonight? Yeah. Like, no, I don't need
not
that.
All of us found don't need the love of our life at 18 and been with them. Look,
exactly. 18, 19, 20. Okay. No, we don't have.
Let's do us. No. But yeah, so setting boundaries is a big part of that. I definitely think so. Yeah. And if you have an issue because it's hard to stick to them, I want you to look into some books, some TV shows, some articles, YouTube videos, whatever medium works for you, podcasts about codependency. Because people who have a lack of boundaries with family members, it's usually a codependency issue. And I think that would be extremely helpful. I don't think me and Nick will ever get into that. That was never really one of my issues. That's something I could only tell you from the technical term. And I like talking about topics that I can actually relate to. But yeah, so if you have issues setting boundaries, that would be the key term to try to look into. Oh gosh, I just said it. Yes. Codependency.
A codependency? Oh, I'm like, what? Yeah. I mean, I think I have boundaries sometimes, like setting them. I don't ever feel like I'm codependent.
Yeah, I mean, codependency is one of those tricky things. I don't think just because you have a lack of boundaries that means that you have codependency. It's like one of those things where just because you have a cough doesn't mean you have the flu. Some of the symptoms are there.
Yeah.
But yeah, codependency is more like a reliance on a person or a family in general, like to the point that it's almost like you guys are addicted to each other, and it's toxic. That is like the biggest thing. And with families, it would be like you're so focused on solving other people's problems, whether it be caretaking, giving advice, trying to fix their life up, doing it where the point that you're still doing it even though it's impacting your mental health or it's impacting your finances. It's where it's starting to affect your life and you still keep pushing on. You feel an urge to, you feel like you can't. A lot of times in codependency, it's one of them feels responsible for everybody. There's always one person that feels like, no, I'm responsible for everybody and everything. That's very normal in those. And another part of codependency, I think is a big part, is you also absorb each other's feelings. because of you empathize so much because of the lack of boundaries that now you take on their feelings. So yeah, look up codependency. It's a lot of great info, especially if you have issues with boundary settings. And it's not just families. Codependency can also be with friends, and it can also be, especially what you'll see a lot, it'll be talking about relationships.
Yeah, mostly relationships.
So we talked about grounding. We talked about even evaluating if this is something you actually want. We talked about meditation, and then also, getting help and support. I feel like every episode we're like, hey, go into therapy, but a lot of times it's helpful, even if it's just for one particular point in your life. You don't have to go to therapy forever. And then also, if you have a bad experience, understand like that just wasn't a therapist for you. And there's no problem with therapy hopping. There's a problem with psychiatrist hopping, because that is some pill stuff, and you can be flagged. So let's not do that. But I'm personally a believer there's nothing wrong with therapy hopping.
Yeah.
I know when I was doing therapy, I didn't take offense when someone would stop coming. I'd rather you stop coming, even if you didn't call me or tell me whatever, then as long as you stop coming because you're like, I don't have a connection, not because you like, I don't want to work with myself. Ooh, it scared me away. Feelings. No, you need to push through that. But if you walk away because you're like, you know what, we're just not a good fit. Yeah.
Because it's like, you're finding a relationship, like they have to fit. You have to fit with each other.
Like, I know my current round, I wanted to start therapy again last year, and the first person was a sweet lady, and very educated, but we just did not fit. I gave it a couple sessions, and then I was just like, okay, so now I realize this wasn't like, oh, both of us were off our game. This was just, our personalities don't match. And it was more, not even personalities don't match, because my favorite therapist in the world, we are both extremely different. He is like a bohemian Christian, and it's so funny because he's so radical and then not radical. He walks in with all the beads on his necklace and the leather wristlet, and his like loose fitting button up shirt, and all his everything in his office in his waiting room is like African mask and incense, and like he was my favorite there. Yeah.
But he's still a Christian. See, I haven't had a favorite, so I haven't had the feeling of, I really love this girl. I haven't had that yet.
You're gonna love it, because there's something about having someone that you feel you can trust your feelings with versus someone. Well, I feel like we can try to process this together. That is one thing where you're like, okay, you seem like you know what you're doing, so okay, we'll go through this. But you still, at least for me, I still stop myself at certain levels, because I'm like, girl, this is Pandora's box. If you open it, we cannot close it. And I have certain my therapist now, that's how I feel. Like, yes, we can go through this, we can process this, whatever. But there's certain areas where I'm like, we're not going to touch this, because I still don't feel emotionally safe with you. I feel, but my problems feel safe with you. My, stress, that talking about that does, but going back to like, fear of abandonment, a need for control, all that, we can only touch on that on surface level. But when I had my favorite therapist, like, I think I've talked about this before, like, we would be up in the office and he was just like, Crush, you gotta stop doing that. No, really, because like, I really feel like you're gonna push this man to the edge, and you just gotta stop coming for his ego. And I'm like, I mean, maybe, I don't know. He keep letting me. I feel like he likes it. But like, we would have fun. Like, he would be throwing baseball in the air while I'm like on the couch sitting back talking a whole bunch of stuff, and he would just stop me to be like, now you know what you said was wrong. And I was like, yeah, I was hoping you didn't catch that. And he would get up, go to his little board, because like it was like teaching. Like he had a book.
I just like loved hearing your stories
Yeah,
and talking to him.
I
Like,
know, but
I
he
want to
does
talk
not
to him.
stick to his insurance. I'm like, first of all, you know I like to
Yeah.
go to you every week. Don't nobody got, what
Yeah.
is that? $500? No,
Uh-huh.
I don't have that. Oh, he needs to get back doing insurance. But yeah, he was great, but also he was a teacher. Like he had a like not chalkboard, whiteboard, and he would write. Like we would break things down, and he would write on it. He'll make me take a picture so I can remember it, and I can remember it for my homework assignment. So I don't know if I told this story on here before. So there's one. This is the therapist I was with, by the way, and we were working on I don't know, some type of inner issue stuff. I don't know. And he told me he wanted me to write 3 of my favorite movie characters and why they were my favorite, or 3 movie characters I could relate to and why I could relate to them. And so I don't know who the other 2 were, but one of them was Amy from the movie Gone Girl. Okay. So if none of y'all have seen the movie Gone Girl, spoiler alert, I'm going to just go over it quickly. Essentially, the premise of this movie is like this woman went missing. Everybody suspected it was the husband. They found blood at the scene. They found out he was having an affair, cheating on her with a younger girl. They found out he had gambling debt. So they started thinking he killed her for her life insurance. They found out that through one of her best friends that he was beating her, blah, 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 blah. Right? So that's one side of the story. And then you flip and find out she faked her own death to punish him for cheating. And she would sit on the floor and pump blood out and store up the bags of blood. So when she would leave, she had a whole bunch of bags of blood and just swiped it on everything. And then she came back and cleaned it, horribly cleaned it. So when, they do go over it with forensic team, you will find it. But it's not out and open. She faked a pregnancy test. Got one of her friends that was pregnant to pee in an empty toilet bowl, and then got it from there, sent it off to the lab to confirm it with her doctor. So that's also another thing. Women are more higher. They're more likely to be victims of abuse or murder during pregnancy. I don't know if you guys know that. So that was also another thing. They were like, okay, and she was pregnant. And then, she made sure the news found out about the cheating girl. She bought a whole bunch of stuff online. She created that. They didn't have that. She created it. She created that by buying a whole bunch of stuff, running through their cards, put all the stuff at his father's house. So when they find the stuff, it's like, oh no, this is yours because it's at your father's house. And then some stuff happens, and basically she ends up, they're about to try him. He's about to be found guilty, and he recognized that she's still out there. I can't remember how, but he somehow was like, no, she's still allowed to do this just to fuck with me. And he went on TV pleading her to help her and saying that he loved her. He loved her. She was the love of his life. He messed up, and he knows he's messed up, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, she comes back to him. There's some stuff I'm skipping out on, but she comes back to him, and dramatic way, there's reporters all over how she drives the car into the lawn and stumbles out blood covered and walks to him and falls into his arms, and he whispers to her, "You bitch." And then they have to live happily ever after. Of course, they're not happily ever after, but now he's stuck because if he divorced her, he just divorced this woman, because the story was that she got kidnapped. And so it's you divorced your wife after she got kidnapped and she fought her way back to you. And then also she got pregnant. In a week, so he still ended up sleeping with her at some point. And then she got pregnant. Yeah. So he was stuck. Yeah. So anyways, that's the story. That was the person. So I put Amy down. That's one of the people I relate to. And so my doctor was trying to call me because we had sessions that day. Oh, and I guess he was just like, no. Hold on. We're going to talk about this before you get here because I need to know what way we going. And I, at the time, I had a job where I had to work at the psychiatric hospital. I had to go there. I had to talk to my patients there, and then I had to work with their team. And so when I'm in that particular building, I have to turn my phone off, and I'm not allowed to use it while I'm in there. So I came out of the building, and I had like 3 text messages from him, and I had a email from him, and it was like, and I had a phone call from him, like, please call me. And so I called him. I was like, hello. And he was like, yeah, we need to talk about this homework. And I was like, hold on, I don't get good reception here. And he was like, where? And I was like, oh, I'm at the name of the psychiatric hospital that everybody here knows. And he was like, oh, they locked you up. And I was like, sir, I'm here for But the fact that oh my God, it cracks me up every time I think about this. I was like, no, sir, I'm here for work. And he's like, oh, okay, you scared me a minute. He's like, I was reading your thing, and I was like, okay, yeah, we need to talk about this. I'm at work. I'm gonna talk about this when I get there. But yeah, he thought, they finally committed. He was like,
he was like, she said all this, and now she's in there. It's over. My poor ass.
That was funny. Right. So yeah, like that was my favorite therapist, but also like we were very, very different. Yeah, he was also, he had a very religious side. And we talked about that. He talked about how it was hard because I was like, don't bring religion in here. And he talked about how that was hard because he was used to incorporating that a little bit in his therapy sessions. And he, we had a conversation one day, and he was like, you really helped me to grow. He was like, because you made me use skills and stuff from outside the box that I normally wouldn't use because I would use this. So yeah, and we weren't like the same personality type or nothing like that, but he was able to make me feel emotionally safe. And I think that's a big part of finding a therapist, finding one that makes you feel emotionally safe, someone that makes you feel, okay, I know if I let all this out, you know how to put it back together. You're not just going to leave it out.
And that helped me get through this problem.
So yes, please try therapy. And if you think you can't afford it, you can. If you have insurance, I believe they passed something where all insurance have to have a mental health thing. I felt like that was a thing. I don't know if it passed, but more than likely, if you have insurance, you are covered for a couple of free sessions. Most insurances, I know Blue Cross does, I know Kaiser does. Yeah, I know for sure they do, but I feel like I've heard that most insurances have some type of coverage. You might have to do a copay of like $25. But if you don't have insurance, or you're like, I can't afford that, also look in your state, Google up your state names or your city name and type in sliding scale fee therapy. Sliding scale as in SCALE fee, FEE. And they'll show you the people or agencies that will let you pay based on what you can afford to pay. Yeah, so that's also
a good resource to have.
Even if you're like, oh no, because they're still gonna make me pay $20 and blah blah. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. When I worked at an agency like that, like I had a person who was making about $45 a year, and I think their copay was like $8. Yeah. So you should be able to get that. That is good. Definitely a resource. If you are in college, they have a clinic where they have mental health resources. If you are at a state school, for sure, all state schools have it. I don't know what private schools are doing, but all state schools have it. Those are resources. If you're working at a job, maybe your insurance is crappy, see if they have oh gosh, it was just in my mind.
They have employee services for therapy sometimes. You can have like a couple of
Yeah, mine gives
therapy sections,
8
maybe
for
like
every
4
new
or
problem.
5.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Every
Oh,
new
ESF.
that's
That's
wonderful.
what it's called.
I have a
ESF. Sorry.
friend
Go
and he
ahead.
can only have 5. Yeah. Yeah, he only can have 5, so that's not really a lot.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
it is
And
something to
also,
start you out on
again,
though.
when for some people, therapy is situational. Like, I need therapy for this particular problem, for this particular point in my life, and then you might never need it again. So, with those, 5 sessions might be all you need. Um, or maybe it's 10 sessions and now you get half of them off. So keep that in mind too. Like, once you go to therapy, you do not have to go for life. You do not have to be in there forever or a long time. Like, no, you can just stop when you want to. Like, good or not, you can just stop when you want to. And sometimes your problem can be resolved within a couple of months. So that is something to keep in mind. And then also we talked about evaluating if that's something that you even really want, if this is something you're burnt out about because you're just stressed and tired and blah blah blah, or is it because you really never wanted this and you're stuck in this, because those are 2 different types of burnout.
Yeah, you have to
And
figure
then
out the
also, I
underlying
think
issues. Yeah.
having support from friends. I'm not a very social person, but I think I told you guys, like, I went through like the hardest year of my life last year, and I suffer with depression. It's something I worked through, but I was doing great for years. I was doing really really great. And last year, like, they had to categorize me as a major depressive for the first time in years, and I forgot where I was going with that. What were we talking about? I had this breath and I was like,
I was waiting, like,
what are you talking about? Huh.
No.
Oh, okay. I got it. Okay, 10 seconds. And like, I'm not a social person. Like, I'm not. I've got like 4 people that I consider friends. And those are only people I go out with, I do stuff with. And one of the things that ended up really helping me last year was to start socializing again, even when I didn't want to, because I'm not really a social person. Like, I can put on airs of being social at my job, but in my personal life, I am not social. And I had a friend who had recently moved down here, and who was like, "We taking yourself out, and we're doing stuff." And it did help. Being social again helped. Being
Yeah.
putting on new clothes that you look cute in, and not my PJs or a big sweat. Help. Yeah.
Doing your hair. Yeah.
Those little things.
I don't know. During the pandemic, I just
Yeah.
let it
Well,
go.
like,
Let everything go.
but I recently got my hair did. I got just the beautiful, just long flowing weave attached to my head right now. And the reason why is because I did not maintain my hair at all last year. And kind of like, I was working from home. I barely went out. When I did, throw it up in a ponytail, put a scarf on it. Not an outside scarf, y'all, not the like decorative that matches my outfit. And a high pineapple, and like, that was it though. Like, I was going to sleep without my bonnet. I was not washing it on a time schedule I was supposed to, and my hair just started falling out in clumps and chunks. And so I had to go and get my hair cut. A lot of my hair cut off. But a part of that was because of the stuff I was liking last year, of just going and letting that burnout and letting it push me to the point that I wasn't even taking care of myself the way I should have been taking care of myself, because I was so stressed about all this other stuff that I put me. And like Neek has talked about earlier, like, I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. I have a great co-parent that helps and does his share, but still, I'm still a mom. And it's hard, extra hard, because I can't burn out on her. So even when I'm feeling burnout, I have to make sure that she does not feel the impact of my being burned out. And then that's a whole another type of stress that's now added. Because now I have to act like everything's okay when I get home, because I don't want you to take on my problems.
And that's even hard. That's the hardest thing, yeah. For me, at least,
it's extremely hard for me. Once my daughter like just busting into rooms, so I can be right in the middle of a good cry. She busts into my room, and mommy's sad. No, mommy's happy. These are happy tears.
Yay!
Okay,
Yeah.
But yeah, so
yeah, I hear you.
Level of burnout. But again, you know, I cut my hair. I got my hair done. I got a sew-in for the first time in like years, like since I lived in Ohio. Yeah, because I had my hair all natural in Oklahoma. But yeah, I cut my hair, and like I'm loving it though. Like I'm feeling like doing little small things like that for yourself. Self-care is good, and I think that's a big part of trying to get out of that. And for me, it was starting over my hair, cutting my hair, and being like, okay, well, I wanted to grow back out, so I need to do a protective style, and this is what we're gonna do. And I picked a protective style that I think looks awesome, and it has been a little boost. Like my little ego been so strong this week. Girl, I didn't even tell you. Yeah, girl, I was at the gas station.
That's good to hear.
Numbers. I collected 2 numbers. Well, I didn't collect. I gave my number out to 2 people today. And right, looking like Pocahontas.
Look at you.
Flow through the wind. And I was feeling so good. But yeah. So self-care is also a big part of it. But also just checking in with yourself to make sure that this is not your everyday life. Because once you get to the point that burnout feeling is just your baseline, that's when we need to step into overdrive on seeking out help, of now seeking out new information, of changing that. Because that amount of stress, it leads to physical things happening. It will lead to you not being able to sleep. It will lead to you losing your hair. It will lead to you having anxiety attacks. When you make stress your baseline, you are going to have negative physical reactions. And that's what we need to prevent.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what we need to prevent. One of the things I do think we can talk about is using escapism methods. This would be drugs. This would be alcohol. This would be a person. It could be sex. It can be, to doll out so you don't have to think about that feeling, Like, if I pop these pills, I'm going to be real, real happy, and I don't have to deal with that feeling of sadness. If I, drink enough alcohol, I'm going to be feeling real good and real loose and want to have fun, and that takes my stress away. If I smoke this blunt, that is going to get that fuck it in my system, and I'm going to be good. And I do want to say, just put that out there, with drinking and marijuana, I do know for some people it's not a escapism thing. It's really like, I can't go to sleep. Yeah. This is what puts me to sleep, okay? And that's valid. Also, it's valid. They're, that's why they're passing. Well, money is why. But another part of why they're passing a lot in these states for marijuana, especially medical marijuana first, is because it actually has a lot of medical properties that are a lot better than the alternatives that they have for them. So I'm not saying doing that means like, oh, you're escaping, but when you're getting to a level that it's escapism. When you are smoking because you're like, I'm trying to go to sleep, or I just want to smoke for a little bit. Be sure to watch your TV, or it's like now I can't sleep unless I smoke. I can't eat unless I smoke. Because that's the thing where people smoke so much that they cannot eat unless they smoke. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. I have to have a little smoke
and
every
the
time I
same
eat.
thing with drinking. Like, you know the difference between, I'm gonna go out with my girls, I'm gonna have fun, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have a cup of wine at home versus like, I'm down in a soul six pack. Yeah. And or like, no, I see wine is one of those, and I think it's because I don't drink grown people wine. Like I drink kitty wine, like Arbor Mist, Stella Rose, the stuff that you can drink the whole bottle and still not get drunk. But I'm talking about the hard stuff where you can get drunk really quickly and you downs in that whole bottle. Like there's levels. And I think when you get to that level, that is escapism, and you want to avoid that.
You need seek some type of
and it's one of those things that you really need to sit and be honest with yourself about, because I feel like the first time people realize that they maybe are getting addicted to something, because it's so part of their norm, it's hard for them to recognize, like, no, this is a problem. And for them, especially if they're a functioning addict, it's really hard. They're like, what do you mean? My bills are paid, my kids are safe, blah blah blah, I don't do anything dangerous, I just drink enough to mess up my liver in the next 5 years. It's like, that's a thing that is harming. But yeah, so don't try to do the escapism. My daughter is screaming in the background. I don't know why. She just howled, and I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna leave her there. I feel like I'm gonna go in, and there's gonna be some, like, I don't know, her looking up at the moon, howling, and I don't. No.
Let's hope not. It's a reverse night today.
I don't walk in on her doing some strange stuff where, like, spiritually, and I'm like, that's not my business. Like, I'm just like, you know what? It's like, I walked in one time where she was like staring into my closet. So I have 2 closets. One's a walk-in, and then one is just one of those, like, takes up your whole wall type closet. And she was at the one that, like, takes up your whole wall. She was sitting, and she was looking in the air, and she was having a whole conversation. And at first I was like, oh, she has an imaginary friend, and that's normal for these kids to have at this age. But, like, why is her friend up in the air and, like, she's down on the floor? Yeah, stuff like that. And I was just like, okay. And I walked myself out the room. I'm like, they seem to be having fun. They seem cool. So, oh, you remember that dream? You remember? I don't know about, I told you. There was one night where I was sleeping in my room, she was sleeping in her room, and I used to I still keep my door open, but I would close her door, and to encourage her to stay there and not come to my room. And she ran into my room screaming, and I was like, what is going on? It's like 3 a.m. I'm panicking, she's screaming. I'm like, what's going on? And she was like, the people, mommy, the people, tell the people go away. And I was like, what people? Then she pointed to my closet, and I was like, well, we just gonna get under the covers. So we did that. I'm like, we don't have to wait into the sun, right? Because the light switch is by the closet, and you talking about some peoples. I feel like you talked about spirits. I am not equipped for this.
No.
So, anyways, whenever she gets into her stuff, I let her get into her stuff by herself. As long as she seems safe, I'm like, all right, well, Cletus. His name's Cletus. Huh. He used to sell newspapers. He calls those knickerknackers. Alrighty. What color is Cletus? Okay, go have fun. If you get a ghost from the, early 1600s, and they got long white beards and a little hat and a whip thing, we need to go. That's not the ghost that we want visiting us. Oh God. gosh, I got so off topic. I don't even know where that stemmed from.
You're right. But yes, just figure out your burnout and the cause of it, and ways to get help if it gets to be too much. That was the sum of it.
You can get help, until you can do those things. Start with mindfulness. Start with meditation. Also, start with your health. Getting in shape, and not even getting in shape, but just exercising does so much for your mind, and it has been proven to improve, especially people with depression. It's horrible and it sucks, and I agree. But I will say the times that I was going to gym more consistently, I was riding my bike more consistently, all of that, I did feel better. Some of it was like seeing myself shrink, seeing my outfits fit better, but also another point of it, just moving. Like, moving made me feel better.
Yeah, for me, I would take like the classes, like the workout classes, dancing classes. Those made me feel better. But I haven't taken a while. But I can't really work out. But taking those classes, my mind, like I'm not thinking about anything that I'm stressing over. I'm having a good time, moving my body, listening to music that I like.
Yeah,
and it always made me feel better.
Used to make me feel better. Dancing alone in my room, in front of my mirror, just to make me feel better. But now it's a trigger, so I can't listen to music.
Whatever mind for that. Just find what's good for you.
Where I eliminate things that trigger me in my life, and I had to delete my Apple Music. I had to delete my Apple Music because every time I thought I could, I'd be 2 songs in. Maybe sometimes I could be an hour in, and then something will hit me, and I'll be like, you know what? Well, you done ruined this for me. Can't listen to music. There's actually something else, but I have to talk to you about it off screen. Y'all need to know that visit. But it's something else I found out that was ruined, and now I'm just like, well, what the hell am I do about this? But yeah, I do think dancing can be another one that's really good, because I used to, and this is something like from my childhood, like I used to get my little Walkman, lock my door. I had a full length mirror, and I used to just go in there and jam and like create a video in my head while I'm doing it, and I'm the main star and what I would have done. And it carried over into adulthood. Like up until 3 months ago, I was still doing this. But yeah, so I definitely think that's another one. And again, do what you feel like is authentic to you. Me personally, my biggest recommendation is get some books, get some audiobooks, a YouTube video, whatever, to deal with your whatever that core problem is that's causing that stress. Because again, you cannot change that pattern that's creating the stress, or whatever that real internal unconscious thing is, to change it, unless you get more information. You have to get the information on. You have to take in the information. Sometimes you got to get information from multiple sources. The point is to get that information at some point, because I think that will really start your change on your healing journey. All right, guys, I think we are going to wrap it up. I hope that you enjoyed today's conversation. I was going to tell you guys what we're doing next week, but now I can't recall. But it's going to be next week on Thursday at 8 a.m.
And it's going to be great.
It's fine. You guys, is there anything that we need to promote or let anybody know? If you're in the Atlanta area, y'all, please be safe. There are a lot of car robberies going on right now. So please make sure you are locking your goods, like taking them with you or locking them in your glove box, because it's becoming a huge issue. Like, they addressed it this morning on the news where they're like, no, we have helicopters flying over to try to stop it because people have been getting got. And there's been a lot of shootings out here lately, so just be careful. Honestly, I personally believe in just avoiding places that have lots of people, not just for that reason, Corona, but that's also going to help you on the safe side. I think that's all I got. Also, watch out for the storm. The vaccination sites are up and running. You type in My Vaccination Georgia, and it'll pop up the site if you want to get vaccinated. If you don't want to, power to you. But for those of you who do, that's how you can get it. If your insurance is not sending stuff out, that's how you can get it. And you just fill it out. They're more than likely just going to put you on a wait list. And then they'll send you an email when they have times available again. And answer that email quickly, because I did it. And now I got to drive all the way out to Emerson. And I don't know where Emerson, Georgia is, but I know it's not within 30 minutes. So
wow.
Fill it out quickly so you can actually get your location. And they'll do your first one, and then they'll set up for you to have your second one later. That's just for those who want it. That's the information on how to do it. And then I think that's all I have on my side.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any listeners in Ohio. Not sure. But we're 16 and up now. So, yeah, if you want to get it, your insurance are sending out emails. I got emails from insurance, and I have 2 different providers. So, different networks are sending out emails. So, you can get it about anywhere here in Ohio.
Yeah.
And there's not many places with waiting lists
at the
either.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium here. The place I'm going is a recreational gym. So yeah, like they're doing it. I know one place that was an option was a church.
Yeah, they have them everywhere here. Churches, schools, high schools.
Yeah,
pharmacies. Yeah. Convention center, they're having a big place there. So yeah.
So once you hear this episode, if you want to leave in the comments, or you can send us a DM. I love when you guys send me DMs, like for real. If I ever reply back and it seems like it's low energy, it's because I have low energy. It's not, I'm not excited. Your girl ain't been sleeping right since like February 2020. So So with that said, everybody have a great weekend. You guys be safe out there. Not only because we're starting to have mass shootings again, we're starting to have just regular shootings again. Again, I'm in the A, and like, it's been crazy. There's a fair up at Cumberland Mall this weekend that I can't even take my baby to because Cumberland has had 3 shootings in like the last week and a half. So just be safe. Also, be safe. Please still wear your mask and so forth. No matter how you feel about it, like it's a simple thing you can do so we don't have to go back on lockdown. Like, if anything else, wear your mask so we don't have to go back on lockdown. And I know people are like, yeah, that's not gonna happen, y'all. France is back on lockdown. Canada is talking about going back on lockdown. Brazil is talking about going back on lockdown. Unfortunately, I do think we are going to end up on lockdown. I hate to say it because I have plans to travel internationally in May. And like, I got, my shots and everything scheduled. I'm like trying to be a good citizen. I'm wearing my mask. And I hate it because I'm really worried my plans are going to get canceled. I'm really worried because it just seems like the world's going back on lockdown. So I ask you guys, be safe. You guys, please try to cover up. I'm not saying get a shot or not. That is your decision. I want you to do whatever you feel more comfortable doing. But please at least wear a mask. Please do not huddle in super large crowds. If anything, if y'all can do it so I can have an amazing 30th birthday. Like, y'all, I'm supposed to be on a private villa for my birthday, chilling, relaxing, secluded. So if y'all love me, if y'all could at least wear your mask so I can go and travel. Please. I check the news every day for this because I'm just like, do I have to rethink my plans? Please don't make me rethink my plans. I really don't want to rethink my plans. But that's enough of that. You guys have a great weekend. I promise you, I know we're still having some audio stuff. We are working on it. Like, Neek got her new mic. It's coming in tomorrow. I am on my like 5th mic, and they're expensive mics. Like, I promise you guys, we are not doing the $9.99 mics and stuff. I don't know what's going on. I think you guys heard me talk earlier. Like, there might be some paranormal stuff going on in my house. And there's periods in time where we record, there's white noise. I don't know, but we are working on it. I promise you we're working on it. We're going to get better. Again, we'll have a new episode next Thursday. It will drop at 9 a.m. And you guys just have a great week. We'll see you next week.